Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Friday Flows, episode 32. And a special guest on today's episode is me. Yeah, you better believe it. What we're going to be doing is something a little bit different in this episode of the Friday Flows, guys. We're going to be looking at a recent successful case study that we had with Beyon Cyber, who are one of our customers as an MSSP, but also one of our partners in the Middle East. They are one of the fastest growing MSSPs in the Middle East currently. This is an interesting deployment because they had a traditional SOAR in place prior to Tines and some of the challenges that I'm going to outline there. And then by using Tines, they were able to completely uplift their efficiency operationally, ultimately free the bandwidth to get a lot more done within their MSSP. So this is one of those use cases that will really focus on some of the value that Tines brings for service providers. So first off, as I said, Beyon Cyber, based out of Bahrain and one of the fastest growing MSSPs in the market. I think the main thing to kind of point out here, this is such a common challenge for teams that use traditional SOAR. And it was no different here. The main things you can see, the first thing was performance issues. So when you're deploying a traditional SOAR, obviously these are heavyweight deployments. They take a long time. They require a dedicated team of developers who can write Python. Typically, you're looking at a 6 to 12 month deployment, okay? So once you have it deployed, then there is a totally different part of it, which is maintaining workflows. If changes get made, let's say on the vendor side, if that's not updated within your platform, again, you run into all sorts of troubleshooting issues and workflows can break down. So that's the first thing, was just really heavyweight, not something that particularly is enjoyable for the teams deploying those platforms. Integration limitations. So think about it like this. Traditional SOAR vendors will operate based on an app-based approach to integration, where they have their pre-built list of integrations, but if you need to integrate a tool that is outside that list, basically you either need to go to your own developers or you need to go to the vendor to actually build out an API wrapper that will unlock a subset of functionality from that API. And what that means is very time consuming, probably 3 to 6 weeks, usually very expensive to do. And ultimately, when you're trying to get something done in terms of integration short term, that space of time slows everything down, and it just, again, creates this friction within the deployment. Support constraints. So again, when you really think about what a lot of vendors are like, they use SOAR maybe as one part of their suite, and they might be offering multiple different tools as a suite of tools. So as a result, resources can be spread thin, and when teams are using SOAR and coming across the challenges that I just mentioned and need things fixed quickly, that support is not always necessarily there. So those are the challenges that Beyon had before they came to Tines. The question then is, like, why Tines, and what was the main differences there? The main thing with Tines is that we are lightweight, okay, in terms of how we deploy within architecture. That means that, like, a POC is 2 to 4 weeks, a onboarding deployment is 4 to 8 weeks. And at the end of that onboarding, chances are you'll have as many workflows deployed in production than you would after a year of deploying a traditional SOAR platform. Think about that for a second. The lightweight is what gives us the speed. The second thing is integration ability. Tines can integrate with anything. We're flexible, we're completely vendor agnostic. We don't run on integrations. We're an integrator. If you have an API, it's literally as simple as opening documentation, copying a curl command, and then pasting that into Tines, and you have it right there in front of you. The third thing then is just time to value. So we think about how easy Tines is to use, right? And we think about how flexible we are and how fast we can deploy. It means that we can democratize automation within a business and within a security team. Every single analyst in a team can build and modify and monitor their workflows in Tines. It's not a team of developers. It's not you need this one team that's responsible. It's all teams can be responsible for their own workflows and their own automation. What that means is you get a force multiplication in terms of time to value. As I said, if we're looking at an 8-week deployment, which is a long time frame for us, by the way, that means, and we have workflows deployed after a year, typically we have 20 to 30 workflows in production with a lot of our customers after 1 year, including the onboarding itself. So that kind of shows you the impact of Tines for these businesses. Remember, Traditional SOAR, because of the nature of them, will literally open up an additional set of problems due to the resources required to maintain them and deploy them. With Tines, we want to be so lightweight that we slot in as a layer of automation on everything, force multiply, save time, improve the ROI of tools there, and improve the efficiency of every single team that interacts with Tines and benefits from it. So when we think about this deployment here, some of the things that happen off the back, obviously, as I said, when we're focused on being lightweight, moving quickly and delivering fast time to value, it opens up scope for vast improvements in metrics. So Beyon were able to reduce their phishing response times for analysts by 95%. They saw a 98% reduction in time spent on threat hunting. And another thing, shout out to the Tines ProServe team, we were able to migrate all of the workflows from their previous SOAR vendor into Tines within 4 weeks. And why I feel we're able to do this, right? To put the, let's say we're going to eat our own dog food here, right? And just give you an understanding of how we're able to do these things. Like within Tines, the whole idea is that it's ease of use. Like you're literally dragging and dropping action types onto the workflow to pull data into the platform. You're manipulating with an event transform. You're making decisions with triggers, and you're using AI or send a story to make your workflows more efficient. Even pages to make sure that you can interact with people who are non-technical outside the security team. And we connect our tools up like so. And again, when it comes to the flexibility, we have the ability to copy a curl command, paste that into Tines, and you have an integration built in seconds. And like to show you, you know, I'm not going to run through a full demo of this, but like I'm not an engineer. I'm not a technical resource when it comes to Tines, but what I have been able to do is build a basic workflow, you know, so like I'm using a page here to submit a URL and an IP. I'm extracting the domain and the IP. We're geolocating the IP, searching the domain and URL scan, uploading those results and presenting it in a nice screenshot here at the bottom. Super basic workflow, but just gives you an understanding that it's like we want everyone to be able to automate in Tines. And when everybody can automate in Tines, it means that the business benefits, not only in terms of time saves, but also in terms of efficiency. And at the end of the day, all of that equates to money saved, which is, when you're in a business, a very important metric. So again, folks, for any of the MSSP people in my network anyway that see this video, understand that Tines is used as a back-end automation for pretty much all your detection response services. Makes the lives of the analysts much easier and improves the service delivery there and reduces burnout. But the second thing is that for a leader looking at Tines as automation, because of what we can do, we will basically allow you to free up the bandwidth for additional revenue sources. You know, if your team's not bogged down in the trenches with menial and tedious time-consuming work, ultimately, if you got that time back and you had that bandwidth, where would you focus them? You'd probably focus on scaling the business. You'd probably focus on other areas that you didn't previously have the time to focus on. So again, for any of our service provider friends out there, please do check out our community edition. It's going to be in the comments below this video. If there's any kind of questions on that deployment, please reach out to me or leave a comment. And if you enjoyed it, also like and comment. As always, share it with somebody you know, folks. Share it with somebody you know. Alrighty, that's our episode of the Friday Flows for today. Much love, folks. Thanks a million for checking this out, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.